Good morning or good evening or good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for another session of the Totango webinar series. Today we're going to be talking about one of our new releases called SuccessBeat. It's part of our campaigns capability. I'm excited to have you here this morning. If you have any questions after the session, you can reach out to your customer success manager. The campaigns capability is, if you don't already have it, it's something that you can discuss with your CSM as to how you can take advantage of it. And before I get started, just wanted to remind everybody we do have our Customer Success Summit coming up in March. We'd love to have you all participate and attend. So again, please get in touch with your CSM and discuss how you can potentially come to this amazing event. We already have a great speakers lined up. There's going to be a lot of wonderful sessions. Curious, just want to take a look at what we have scheduled so far. You can go to customersuccesssummit.com to review all the information that is available, and we'll also be communicating to you with new updates about new speakers and new sessions that will be happening. So just wanted to bring that up before we get started. Some of you may already know me as I'm your dedicated CSM, but for those of you that don't, I'm Cecilia Tavel, and I've been with Totango for almost 3 years, and I'm very passionate about the space and love doing this for you guys. So today we're mostly going to be focusing and demoing the new capability directly in the system. So I'm going to jump out of the screen and I'm going to go directly into our demo environment so that I can walk you through this new campaigns capability called SuccessBeat. So if you guys are familiar with Totango already and have been a customer for a while, this campaigns capability is going to be available for you within this left navigation panel. So if I click on that, it's going to take me directly to the screen where I can configure and create my campaigns. So what I'm going to do, I actually prepared one for us today, and if we have time, I will actually create another one for us to walk through. If you guys have any questions as we go through the demo, please feel free to type them into the chat window, and we will take as many questions as we have time for. So if I click on the SuccessBeat webinar, this is the one I already created, I'm going to walk you through the steps that you would need to take to create a SuccessBeat. And in general, the capability of campaigns, if you're not familiar with it yet, and if you haven't discussed this with your CSM already, is an ability for you as a company to communicate to your customers. And it's a standalone solution, so you don't have to depend on any third-party systems. You don't really need any sort of marketing automation tools like Marketo, HubSpot, Pardot, etc. You can really rely on Totango to help with your customer communication efforts. It does help bring it all in-house. If you're a customer success team, a lot of times there's challenges with getting the right resources, and marketing is already working on initiatives to bring in other prospects. But for customer communication needs, a lot of times there's just not a dedicated resource, and it's hard to find the time and the resources needed to execute on these campaigns. So that's the value that Totango brings to the table, where you don't have to rely on any other system, and you can do this all in-house just with one solution. The cool thing about it too is that Totango already knows your customers. We already know what they're doing in your product or what they're not doing in the product. And so if you want to make the campaign and the message to them very tuned and relevant to what they're experiencing with your product, this is where we come into play. SuccessBeat is the newest capability. It's just one new item that is part of the overall campaign system. And if we were going to have some sort of example or something that will help kind of explain what SuccessBeat is, we can use an analogy of, if you have a wearable device like a consumer electronics device like a Fitbit, and you're wearing it daily and it's tracking your heartbeat, it's tracking maybe how many steps you're taking, how many miles you're running, and you probably get like a regular email telling you how you're doing. It's telling you, how many steps you've taken, what's your heart rate. All of those updates come to you potentially in an email. And it's very similar to a SuccessBeat. So if you turn that into a business solution, or if we're tracking the way your customers are using your product, we can then send them a reflection of their usage. So we can tell them, they have done a specific thing within your product this many times, and it's sort of a reflection of how they're doing with your solution. It's really neat because you can send it to your executive champions to tell them how they're doing overall on the account level, to give them sort of an idea of how their team is taking advantage of your product. And then you can do this on the user level as well. So you can send very unique messages to the individual end users and tell them how many times they have done something specific, so that they sort of know how to improve themselves. It takes them into your product again. It encourages them to log back in and perform a specific activity. So let me, at this point, walk you through how to create a SuccessBeat. So initially, when you start, there's a few steps, and it actually tells you exactly what step you're on. So we're in step number 1, where you're going to define your initial SuccessBeat. You can give it a name, and this name can be an internal name, so it's something that you can easily identify and recognize when you look at all your campaigns. You'll know exactly what this particular campaign is doing. So I just called it SuccessBeat Webinar, and description is SuccessBeat Webinar. Obviously, you can make this very descriptive, so it's easy for you to go back and understand what this campaign was doing. We do have templates here, or suggested campaigns. And again, as I mentioned, the SuccessBeat is one component of the overall campaign's capability. So you have other options here if you're looking to run other types of campaigns. But today we're focusing on the SuccessBeat, so I'm going to select this SuccessBeat campaign, and I'm going to click on Continue, which will take me to step number 2. And step number 2 is really your way to define your target segment. So this is where you're going to refine and add criteria as to who is supposed to be getting this particular SuccessBeat campaign. And if you're familiar with Totango's capabilities across the board, this is a very similar editor that you would see in the account section where you build active lists. It works very similar to that. So I already selected my conditions. So what I did, I'm looking for my paying customers that are going to be participating in the SuccessBeat webinar. And I'm also looking for new users. So that's those are the couple of conditions that I selected. Right away, as you start building your segment, you will have a preview of your segment. So it's going to show you how many users are going to be affected by this message, out of how many accounts, and then what is the total representation of revenue from those customers, and then a representation of overall percentage of across all of the users that are going to fit into this segment. If there's something more refined that I would want to add to my segment, I can use the advanced editor and pick any other criteria to define my audience. So for example, if there's something specific that you're looking to do, maybe you're looking at a particular tier of customers, or maybe a particular territory in the world. Really, it's anything that we have in the system about that customer, either on the account level or the user level. So we have both ability to refine on the user level and account level, and this is all based on the data that you guys are sending. So you can add more granularity to this if you need to. I will just assume that this is sufficient for my needs. I can also scroll down just to see who are my users. So you can get a little preview of who these actual individuals are, just to make sure you're configuring this correctly and have the right audience in mind. After I'm happy with my segment, I can click on Continue, and this takes me to the next place, step number 3. And this is what really sets us apart from any other solution out there. Because Totango already knows what your customers are doing in the product. And when we message something specific to them via any type of campaign, we can actually specify a goal. Because really why we're doing this, we want users to go back to the product. We want them to execute on something that's specific that is valuable and meaningful in your solution. So we want to actually measure if they're actually going to take advantage of your system, and actually if this message is going to prompt them to do something very meaningful in your product. So I can actually set up my goal, and in this particular case, I'm going to say that I want these users to create documents. and I want them to do it at least 3 times in the 14 days following my message to them. I can also give my goal a description, and then after I'm happy with my goal criteria, I can continue. And the next place is actually a very robust setup area where you can actually configure your specific message. But before I get to that, I want to give my message an email subject, and this is something, you want to make the subject catchy so that when your recipients receive it, they're excited, they want to click in, they want to actually take advantage of what you're offering them. So you can come up with a really cool message. The sender can be defaulted to, and what I did here, I selected that it's coming directly from the Success Manager. And so whoever is the Success Manager assigned to an account in the system, it's going to be sent from that individual. So when the end user receives this message, it's going to seem to them as though, oh, Cecilia sent me this message directly. And when they reply to that message will go back to my inbox. You can also specify specific individuals for it to come from, but if you want, the dedicated Success Manager to be the one addressing the message, this is where you would define that. And again, that ties back into what we have in Totango and who is the assigned Success Manager for that particular account. If for whatever reason there's no assignment, there's always a fallback sender's name, so you can specify who is going to be the fallback. So for example, if there is no assignment on the Success Manager, then it's going to come off or come from Cecilia in this particular case. Now moving on to the customization piece of this. So there's actually, I'm going to walk through all of these particular areas. So the first area that you can customize, you can add a banner here. So I added a banner that we have defined for our campaigns, but you can add your own branded banner, with your logos and your colors so that it's consistent with your brand messaging and your, kind of corporate colors and fonts. So you can get that in here. There's also, the next piece of it is a call to action button. And so obviously, because you're sending this to your users, you want them to engage with this, you want them to log into your product and do something. So you can actually prompt them to do that with a call to action button. And the call to action button can have a link, so it will link directly to the place where you want them to end up. And you can give it a specific name. So I called it create a document because that's what I'm asking my users to do when they get this SuccessBeat, because it's all about documents and document creation. So I want them to go into my product and create a document after they have received the SuccessBeat. So that's your call to action button. You don't have to have a call to action button, but obviously it's a nice way to include it because it will bring your customers back into the product. There's an ability to change colors, so you can add, a specific color, or if you have the code for the color, you can actually input that here as well. The next piece is the message. So the message can be customized, so you can actually type in your custom message. You can include any data point within the text of the body of the email message. So one of the attributes that I am already using here is the attribute for the name of the particular recipient of my message. And the way I'm doing that is actually there's a little link here called Add Data. And when you click on that, it exposes all the particular data points, both on the account level and the user level. So if I'm looking for the name of my individual, I can simply start typing this attribute, and this is what we call it in our system. I select it, and then if there's no first name available, I can also provide a fallback. So in my case, I can have a fallback, and it will be hi there instead of their first name. So this is something you guys can do as well. I'll remove this for now. You can also manipulate the text, so any text that is relevant, you can add it here. You can also embed other data points directly within the body of the message. So you can do the same thing I just did with the name and add any other data point that is applicable. So, if you have something specific that you're looking to communicate to that customer, maybe based on the journey stage that they're with you, maybe these are new customers in onboarding, so you can maybe bring that variable into the text of the message. But essentially, it's anything that we have in the system, either on an account level or the user level. So let's assume this message is sufficient for me. The next piece of it is defining the cards, and this is what we call those metrics cards that are going to be available to reflect to the user what they have done in your product. So there's 3 cards that you can have. You can, remove the other 2 if you only want to use 1, so you don't have to use all of them. You can go with 1 if that's sufficient. But in my case, I'm using all 3. And for each one, you can, there's going to be default little icons here, but you can add your own images for this. And then you can also specify what data you're reflecting on. So again, we have user level attributes, we have account level attributes, and you also now have any activity that is being performed in the product. So in this particular case, I want to reflect back to this user how many times they created a document in the last 7 days. So I have selected this particular activity to be available for me in the reflection when I send this to the user. I can also give this a name. So this is what I typed in, and as I type in, it actually updates that in my preview on the left. So I can just type that back up in there, and this is going to show them how many documents they created in the last 7 days. And you would do the same exact thing with all the other cards. If you're using all 3, you select what you want to share. In this particular case, I'm sharing documents created, the number of documents, shared, and then card number 3, I have how many documents were defined. So once I'm happy with, the metrics that I want to include, I can proceed and move on to the signature piece. And this is, something specific to how you want to end the message. And I just said, looking forward to seeing great progress next week and enjoy document creation, and signed by the specific success manager. Again, this is going to pull from the information that we have in the system about who's the success manager on that account. And again, we will have a fallback if there is no success manager available. It's going to be coming from the Totango customer success team instead. So that's your signature. There's also a footer. The footer is, your company name. You can hide the footer. You can also hide the unsubscribe link if you need to. And then there's social icons. We have all these social icons that can be available within your message. And then I'll show you in a little bit where you can actually adjust and update this information within the settings section. So let's assume I'm happy with my message, I'm ready to go. Now I actually want to take a look at it and do a little preview of it. So basically when I click on preview, it's going to randomly select one individual user via whom this message will be previewed. And it's going to show me what that's going to look like for them. And it's going to show me exactly what the numbers will look like for that particular individual. So it looks like in this particular case we have 0. They've created 0 documents, and they've shared 0 documents, but they have this many documents defined in the system. So another thing I can do is send an email to myself to send a test message to me into my inbox, so I can actually review it, preview it, see how it responds within my email client, to make sure that I'm completely good to go before I actually activate my campaign. So let's assume I'm done with that. I can actually proceed from here and click on continue. And now all of my information is available to me in kind of my last step of activation. I see what my segment's going to look like. I see my actual message. And if I scroll to the bottom, I can actually schedule it. So here are some options for you. So you can schedule it once. Basically, it will go out one time, and it will message to the individuals that are in your segment. You can schedule it once, but schedule it for later. So you can actually schedule it right now, but specify what date it's supposed to go out on. So you can provide the date, the time, and the time zone. You can also set up an ongoing campaign. So if this is going to be kind of an ongoing SuccessBeat campaign, it's going to message to all the new entry individuals that come into the segment. So it will continue sending it to anybody who enters the segment that you defined. You can do the same with ongoing schedule for later, and you can also schedule a recurring campaign. So a recurring campaign is actually going to message at a specific frequency to the exact same people that are already defined in your segment. So if you want the SuccessBeat to be a regular occurrence, maybe something that you're sending to your users on a weekly basis to give them a reflection of how they're using or doing with your product, you can set it up to be recurring. You can set up a start date, and then you can say, if there's an end date as well. You can select your time zone, and you can specify whether this is going to be daily, weekly, or monthly, and select a day of the week. So this is really neat. This is actually really a new enhancement that we have added to our campaigns capability to have a recurring type of campaign. So once you're done with that, you can actually activate your campaign. So when I click on continue, it's actually based on how I defined it. It's going to activate that campaign and send the message at the appropriate time that I have specified. And then, from there, you can actually monitor progress. So on all the campaigns that are activated, when you go back to your campaign screen, and let me just jump into that really quick to see if I have an example in the demo system that you can look through. I may not have anything available because it's only date we have something here. Let's click on that. So basically, when you have a live running campaign, there's going to be a set of metrics that you can monitor. Right now, this is in the demo environment, so all these are zeros. But for you, for each active campaign, you will have a number of, how many were delivered, how many were viewed, how many are engaged, which means, they actually clicked into the message, and how many achieved their goal. So as you remember, I showed you that you can actually specify a threshold of how many documents you want the customer to create within a specific time frame. And if they achieve their goal, you'll actually be able to see that. So that's a really neat way to actually monitor how you're doing with each particular campaign. And then there's a performance tab. So in this particular case, it's just a flat line, but you would actually be able to see a line of how many achieved their goal and how many users received the campaign. So you can have a little bit more statistics that you can look at as well within the campaigns area for each campaign that you're running. So we are getting close. I want to leave just some time for questions. So if you guys have any questions in mind, start typing them into the chat window. But I do want to highlight something as well in the settings section for campaigns, because I mentioned there's some configuration that you can do for the campaigns capability that has to do with, the footer information, any social icon links. You can actually update within settings and campaigns area. You can also white label, and this is what we actually encourage all of our customers to do. You can white label the campaign so that when your users receive a campaign, it comes from a branded domain that is your business domain. So you can actually do this. You can configure the settings within this area, and it's going to give you specific instructions as to how to adjust your DNS records. And then this will be completely transparent to your end users. When they receive the email, it will come directly from your domain. They will have really no visibility, to kind of the Totango behind the scenes powering this. And you also have another quick link here that allows you to include or add customers that have already unsubscribed from your communications to them. So this is a way for you to get that information into Totango. Totango also allows you to include the unsubscribe mechanism. So if anybody unsubscribes from a campaign, actually Totango will record that, and then the future campaigns that you send, are not going to be sent to that particular individual that has unsubscribed. So that's a quick walkthrough. As I mentioned, if you don't have campaigns yet, please reach out to your CSM and see how you can take advantage of it. It's super amazing. We have started using it internally to power a lot of different initiatives, and started reflecting to our customers as well as to how they're using our product, and have gotten really great feedback. It is something that you can essentially start using right away, assuming that we have the information, like their name, first name in the system, and also their email address. And it does allow you to build some really neat programs to your audience, to bring them back into your product, to engage them further with your product, and kind of build that momentum with the customer. So let me see if there's any questions. There's a question that came in. I'm not sure. So let me read this out. So can we stop them from responding to this email? I'm not sure if I understand the question. So maybe after the session, we can get back to you on the kind of your specific use case, and we can talk through how to potentially address that for you. And I think that pretty much wraps it up. Again, I wanted to remind you about our summit in March. Please discuss this with your CSM, and we hope to see you in San Francisco in March. And we look forward to seeing you at our upcoming sessions. Have a great afternoon, or great morning, or good evening. Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.